Hello everyone, this is Rajdeep from Gaja, and let's begin the candidates recap. So let's get started with our very own match of Pragg and Sindarov. Sindarov, with the most points, of course, has the highest lead and also has the white pieces, so has the advantage. Let's begin the game with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, and d5 all standard. Queens can be declined. Knight c3, knight bd7, bishop f4, and Pragg immediately starts instigating on knight c3, bishop to b4, trying to put pressure at bishop b4 and also trying to put more pressure with knight to e4 ideas. This is the idea Pragg is supposed to go with. That's what he's showing and trying to build some imbalance. The game takes, removing any kind of imbalance as Sindarov just wants a draw and it's enough for him. He's already at a very huge lead. But let's see, e3 standard, solidifying the center. Knight e4 as expected, putting pressure on this knight. Queen to c2 and g5. G5 is the move. Pragg is attacking Sindarov as knight e4 doesn't only put pressure on the c3 knight, it also controls g5 with the queen, as you can see with the arrows I've drawn. Yes, so this is the most important match. Okay, bishop drops back and h5. Pragg is on fire. Pragg is wanting to attack Sindarov and bishop to d3, putting pressure on the knight e4 and h5. Sindarov's bishop is trapped as if bishop comes to e5 as well. This bishop will be trapped by f6. So let's go. Pragg has trapped Sindarov's bishop, but it's not very easy. Takes with check. The king is checked and king slides back. Bishops come here and f6. Now the bishop is completely trapped, uh, but it's not very easy as Sindarov plays knight takes g4. Knight takes g4, and thing is that now the threat is knight to e6, forking the queen and the king. And if you take the knight, then you lose the rook. So you have to be careful here. So the only way to win here, only way to get the piece is take the bishop with the knight, and then after pawn takes, then take the knight with the pawn. This is how Pragg should go. And Pragg when goes like this. First he takes the knight on c3, and after b takes c3, then knight takes on e5 as said, as discussed, and now after e takes on e5, d takes on e5, now pawn takes knight. This is how. And f4, Sindarov sees that now even though Sindarov is a pawn, or you can say a piece down, still Sindarov has the attack because the black king is wide open as there is no pawns in front of it. You have to be very careful. Even though you're piece up in games, you cannot afford or compromising with king's safety. It can be dangerous. And Sindarov is exactly trying to do that. He's trying to open the f file as his idea is to castle and immediately launch an attack with the rook and the queen on the king, which is vulnerable on the f file. Now, Pragg tries to make things complicated, plays h3. Here, actually, Sendarov can easily like castle and start attack immediately with like a crazy sequence where the pawn will remain on g2, and but let's see what happens. And rook here attacking the queen, queen to e7, and here g3. G3 is a bit slow from Sindarov, but let's see what happens. Takes from Pragg, and of course castles by Sindarov. Now it is how it should be. Now the attack is raging on the on Pragg's side with Sindarov bringing all these pieces to attack, and Rook comes to the sixth rank, trying to protect the sixth rank of this file of Pragg and trying to protect the king and from any infiltration from the queen. But let's see what happens. And of course, rook takes on f4, king to g8, and rook to f1, rook a f1, and now both rooks are now ready to infiltrate, which is now bad. And Pragg has to play the move bishop to e6 in order to save the game, as bishop e6 stops any kind of infiltration of on f7, and it allows rook to f6, but it is okay because rook f6 actually what it does is it allows Pragg. First of all, Pragg has to give up the bishop. It doesn't have choice. And after a big, huge trade-off, at the end there'll be end game which will be slightly better for black, but mostly it will be a draw. But Pragg cannot play for draw. He has to stop Sindarov on his tracks. So let's see what happens. And in the pressure, in the heat of the moment, Pragg blunders with bishop d7. This is a question mark immediate because now the rook infiltration is allowed by Pragg. And the problem is not only rook infiltration because you can give up the queen for both the rooks. If rook f7, queen takes f7, which has happened, and this happened. But the problem is that the rooks are too far apart from the bishop, and this non-coordination by Prague's pieces actually makes the queen much more menacing and much more dangerous, as now a series of checks can easily pick up the bishop on d7. And this is how it is done. Rook, queen f4. Now king has to protect this rook. Now after king protects in the series of this checks, check, and now the bishop is lost. And now two rooks versus a queen, but Sindarov has extra pawns which he can easily push and win. And he gives a series of checks, and some pawn push happens. And slowly, as you can see, Sindarov is taking Prague's pawns and also pushing his own pawns. His checks. The queen is very menacingly attacking both the rooks and the king. The king is attacked. Prague's pieces are falling, the pawns are falling, and Sindarov's king coming into the game. This check, and yeah, finally he starts pushing the passed pawns, the G and H pawns, as they are necessary. There's a few series of checks, and the passed pawns are pushed. Checks, checks, and yeah, and it will be over in few. And here Pragg resigned as nobody is stopping the spawns. The past spawns are rolling. Nobody is stopping it, and rooks are unable to coordinate. King cannot forever protect the rooks. Here Pragg has to resign. So our next game is, of course, is second most important game of this candidate, which is Anish Giri versus Hikaru. Anish Giri is on a second lead, but still very far away from Sindarov, almost 1.5 points far away. Sindarov has won. Anish Giri has to catch up, has to win. So Anish Giri starts with the move d4 and e6 and knight. What? Anish Giri c4 the English, knight c3, not, and it transposes into a queen's gambit declined like before. But the difference is that it is bit, you can say the h6 is played. I don't know why h6 is played. Usually stopping bishop g5 ideas in the future. But let's see what Nishikiri wants. Let's see. Bishop g5 ideas is stopped. Takes bishop f4 as usual, trying to develop the bishop before closing in the pawn structure. It is standard. You should know that. If you play e3 before putting your bishop out, then your bishop will go forever in the c1 and d2, locked in within the structure. We should not do that. So now c3, c6 solidifying, then e3, bishop to d6, and after a few moves, bishop takes, queen takes, and knight to g3. Anish Giri can play a minority attack on Hikaru with d4, a4 ideas, trying to make a backward pawn on c6, which is also called as this is also called as the Karlsbad structure. But Anish, I think he has a different idea of pushing the pawns in the center and trying to reopen the center. I don't know why like not going with the Carlsbad. But let's see. Knight to c6 and bishop to d3. Coming knight f6, h3, not allowing the knight infiltration on any side. The bishop to d7, queen to b3, b6, protecting the b6 pawn, and castles. And now the game is set to be played as both kings are placed on the same side, which will be it will be a positional, mostly positional game. Now the rooks are coming to the center. It's getting spicy in the center as we can see the game is raging in the center. And after a few moves, Anish pushes e4, takes, takes as planned, takes, and queen goes back, keeping the diagonal, still keeping the diagonal. Queen here also comes back and have threatening ideas of something like knight f6 and checkmate, but king can still escape on f6. Let's see. The knight goes back. This is a good move by Hikaru as knight on f8 always defends the king very well. The knight on f6, knight on f6 can be easily pinned or attacked by pieces, but knight on f8 cannot be touched very easily. And rook to e3, trying to rook lift, trying to increase pressure on this diagonal, on this file. Uh, and let's see, king goes to the corner, and after I don't know why a3 is played, and after this rook move, Anish here had a chance. Anish had a chance to create some play with knight to g5. It is the computer's best choice because the idea is not. It's not because it's checkmating. The idea is not because the rook will be attacked or rook is attacked. Black has to react. And you cannot play the knight, of course, he will get mated because the knight on c5. He cannot take the knight because he'll lose the rook. So here, the only way here is, and the idea is very simple: knight g5, and after rook here, supporting and doubling up in the center. The idea is knight to f3, and after knight to f3, knight to e5. This is the idea, trying to attack all these pieces around and creating some play. That is the idea, basic idea. That's what computer wants. But Anish Giri plays something else, which is knight to c5, which is an okay move, which completely like kills off any play. Anish Giri is not a very aggressive style of player. He's a very positional player. His calm, his moves are very calm, but sometimes calmness cannot give you the win which you want during ultimate games like the candidates. So takes, and yeah, this is mostly it is going to a draw as nothing much is happening. All the pawns and pieces are getting exchanged, takes, and yeah, it's a perpetual which cannot be escaped, and it's a draw. So now, after these two games, as it's a draw, Sindarov is still in the lead with 2 points as he won this round. And other two games don't matter so much as nobody is catching him. He has 8 points. But let's see what can we do. And this game between Andrey Esipenko and Matthias Bluebaum, it's a normal Petrov. It's played when there is nothing much to do. It's just a very basic line. Mm, not much to say here. Go takes, trying to instigate, like trying to break the center of black. Takes, takes, and after a few moves, they have castled opposite side. This might be something. Let's see. And g6, knight back. They are now maneuvering the pieces to better squares. Bishop here, takes, and all the rooks have been exchanged. This is and even the queens have been exchanged, even though it was opposite side castle. The queens are gone, and which means there is no play whatsoever, and the game goes on, and nothing much is happening. Just pieces are getting shuffled and exchanged, and in a few moves, they just make a draw. Yeah, that is how, because you know, like you don't have a place in the game. Like, what can you do? And this is even Fabiano Caruana is bit out of the lot because of he's not he's not in the form looks like. But still, let's see the French he has played. But yeah, in French mostly usually they play the e5 move to take any sort of advantage. You will get any sort of space advantage for white. But usually knight c3 is not usually played. But let's see, knight to d2, and this also goes for some few time. This, and the queens are exchanged, which means games mostly a draw, as their complications are gone. Queens are not there. Takes, and yeah, the pieces are shuffling, and mostly they're exchanging all the pieces, and the rooks are getting exchanged, and there is nothing much. A opposite color bishop position, which is of course a draw. Nothing much to say, and yeah, it is all draw. So yeah, the conclusion is Javokhir Sindarov is not getting chased. Maybe Anish Giri can do something. Let's see for tomorrow's 11th round. Let's go. Bye bye. This is Rajdeep signing off from Chess Gaja. See you again.